Coming up on Cronkite News this morning, ASU announced its plan to build a new med school to address the significant and growing healthcare needs of the state. Plus, 2 new sporting events could be making their way to the Valley. And later, a hazy day here in the Valley, find out why and how long it'll stick around.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Andrew Lind. Thank you for joining us. Arizona is getting a new medical school, which could change the state's healthcare workforce. Bree Pacelli was at the announcement today and has the latest.
In a press conference today at the Board of Regents meeting, Arizona State University announced a groundbreaking initiative to help the state with healthcare and other factors.
Our 3 goals are as follows. Number 1, to reach the national average in terms of doctors and nurses per capita. Number 2, to enhance Arizona's competitiveness in the biosciences and life sciences. And 3, to improve healthcare access and outcomes with lower costs for Arizonans.
In order to fulfill these goals, ASU plans to launch a medical school along with a number of other health-related initiatives. The state is facing a big shortage of nurses. According to Fred Duvall, Arizona has approximately 8 nurses for every 1,000 residents, which is simply not enough, he says, to keep up with population growth. The new initiatives will cost an estimated $5 billion, but ASU President Michael Crow says the school is getting funding from a number of sources.
We will seed fund all of this, and then like the rest of ASU, it will find a way to fund itself, and that's the way that we've built the university. Now you have to look at how we have evolved the university. So in the year going forward, our operating revenue will exceed $5 billion.
The plan is still in its early phases, so no word yet on when the medical school will be up and running. In Tempe, I'm Bree Pacelli, Cronkite News.
The Valley has been a major hotspot for sporting events as of late. The Super Bowl was here in February and was considered a huge success. And now 2 events could be headed to the area. Adrian Carbajal is at the Footprint Center and tells us what we can expect.
That's right, Andrew. Next year, the men's NCAA Final Four will take place at State Farm Stadium in April. But there could be some more big-time basketball news in the Valley very soon. That's because the Phoenix City Council just voted unanimously in support of the Phoenix Suns and Mercury's bid to host future All-Star games. The WNBA bid is to host the 2024 All-Star game next year, while the NBA bid will be either for 2025 or 2026. Council members are thrilled about what these bids could possibly mean for the city of Phoenix.
I am really excited to support this item. We have become known as Championship Valley because we have the know-how and ability to execute the best major marquee sporting and mega events. This will be an exciting opportunity to partner with our beloved Suns and Mercury as well to work to recruit these events.
I can confidently say there is just no louder megaphone and no larger billboard for a city than hosting mega events like WNBA and NBA AllStar weekends. The City of Phoenix's collaborative approach to executing major events is well known amongst national event producers. We will keep our fingers crossed at Downtown Phoenix Inc. for positive news very soon.
There was some talk about what the cost of operating these All-Star games would actually be, but Councilman Jim Waring said that the biggest cost, building the stadium, is already out of the way, and he's hoping that the city can make its return on investment by hosting All-Star games and other events in the future. From the Footprint Center, Adrian Carbajal, Cronkite News.
All-Star game voting for Major League Baseball opened Wednesday afternoon, meaning you at home can vote for your favorite players to play in this year's game in Seattle. Well, in the last few years, there has been several changes. Every team must have 1 player represented. Pitchers aren't selected by fans, instead by the commissioner's office. And finally, the top vote getters in each league are automatically named starters. The road to the College World Series is underway, and the University of Arizona baseball team is getting ready to play its first game. Aaron Patterson is live in the newsroom to tell us how the Wildcats are preparing for TCU. Aaron?
The Wildcats punched their ticket to the NCAA tournament after some hot bats in the Pac-12 tournament. Arizona finished the tournament with 41 RBIs, 6 of those coming from Kiko Romero, bringing up his RBI total to 86, tying the Arizona single-season program record. On Wednesday, Arizona traveled to Arkansas for the Fayetteville Regional. Today, the Wildcats were able to hold their first practice at the Razorbacks facilities. In the regional rounds of the tournament, it is double elimination. This means if Arizona wins on Friday, they will move on to play the winner of the Arkansas-Santa Clara game. However, if they lose, they will move into the elimination bracket.
Perfect world, you win Friday, you win Saturday, you win Sunday, great. But it's never a perfect world. And then, you throw in the chances of rain and rain delays. And so everybody's got to be ready.
On Friday, the Wildcats will face off against TCU in their first game at 6 p.m. In the newsroom, Erin Patterson, Cronkite News.
The House last night approved a bill to raise the nation's $31 trillion debt ceiling and prevent a possible government default in the process. The Senate could take the bill up as early as today, but that leaves little time to spare, as Shelley Garzone reports from our Washington bureau.
Arizona Senator Mark Kelly says he plans to vote for the debt ceiling bill whenever it comes before the full Senate. But he says the fight should have never come this far.
We should never even get this close to defaulting. I mean, the full faith and credit of the United States should never be in question.
He's talking about the Fiscal Responsibility Act. It would raise the debt ceiling, which Democrats wanted, and making spending cuts and welfare changes that Republicans wanted. It came after weeks of wrangling between the White House and the GOP.
It was tough. It's a tough negotiation. It didn't please everyone. Go ask anybody in the halls, right?
In the House, conservative Republicans joined progressive Democrats to vote against the bill, but it ultimately passed last night on a 314 to 117 vote. Arizona lawmakers were divided, with 5 voting against it and 4 supporting it. Like many House members, Kelly says he has concerns on a number of things in the bill, but that compromise is essential to avoid going off a fiscal cliff.
There's stuff in there that I am, not thrilled about. But again, to be within days of defaulting is a big mistake, and it costs family money.
It's unclear when the Senate will vote, but Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said today that any delay would almost guarantee default.
The Senate will stay in session until we send a bill avoiding default to the president's desk, and we will keep working until the job is done.
The Senate does not have much time to act. The Treasury has said the government could run out of money as soon as Monday. In Washington, Shelley Garzone, Cronkite News.
We reached out to Senator Kirsten Sinema's office for comment on the legislation, but her office said she would not be available for an interview today. Back here in Arizona, you may have noticed it was pretty hazy out there today. Enrique Rupert joins us from the Cronkite Weather Center to explain why.
Thanks, Andrew. As you may have realized, this morning, due to a mulch fire in the Mesa area, the air quality was pretty thick. However, it's now at moderate, but it is still advised to those sensitive groups with allergies and asthma to still take some extra precaution just in case. As for this evening, it's going to start off at 90 degrees at around 6 p.m., but then it goes down to 83 at 10 p.m. It's going to be a lovely, cloudy, starry night, and it's perfect for outdoor activity. As for our future cast, the northern side of the country is going to experience some activity tomorrow. It's going to be light to moderate showers with a chance of a thunderstorm. And it is expected to go through Friday evening and early into Saturday morning. As for our lows, it's going to be 37 degrees in the Grand Canyon and 40 in Flagstaff. So if you're out and about, just make sure to carry a jacket. As for Phoenix, it's going to be 72. And it's going to be still pretty chilly, so make sure and wear a sweatshirt. For our highs, in the southwestern part of the state, it's going to be high to mid-90s, and for the northern part, it's going to be high 70s with a low of 67 in Window Rock. And for the weekend, for the first time in June, we're going to experience triple digits. Moving into the week as well, on Monday, it's going to be 102, but for the rest of the week, it comes back down to high 90s, with on Thursday and Friday cloud cover. So just make sure, protect yourself from the harmful UV rays and be safe. From the Weather Center at Cronkite News, I'm Enrique Rupert.
Up next, we take a look back at our stories from our sustainability and medical teams. From stories about the recent shortage of ADHD medication to the fight to save an endangered species. A new study finds that bees are living half as long as they used to. Unfortunately, there are many reasons for their diminishing numbers. After the break, what is causing these deaths and how we can bring the buzz back. And a local business owner in downtown Phoenix is changing the game. After the break, we hear about how this owner is challenging the status quo and making a difference in her business.
Hello, I'm Adrienne Farewell, General Manager of Arizona PBS. We've got so much going on here at the station. I'm Catherine Anaya.
I'm Alberto Rios. I'm Chef Mark Tarbell.
I'm Ted Simons.
We want everyone to know that their Arizona connection starts right here at Arizona PBS.
For over the past 60 years, Arizona PBS has told incredible stories of Arizona's distinctive people.
We got to start being more vulnerable with each other.
What I love most about being a Latina woman is the passion and drive that I feel.
Beautiful landscapes and treasured history.
We're doing something that benefits the community.
Good evening and welcome to Horizonte.
Welcome to Check Please Arizona.
Welcome to the U.S. Senate debate.
The recipient of the Emmy is
Arizona PBS.
Last week, the FDA officially approved the purchase of Narcan for the public, and while it's not available yet, it will be available for over-the-counter purchase soon. Cronkite News reporter Logan Camden has more on how to administer naloxone in emergencies.
Naloxone is a life-saving drug that rapidly reverses the effects of an overdose. To use a football analogy, naloxone's job is to take out the narcotic that's sitting on the receptor of the cell in the nose, tackle it off of there, and take its place. The first step when dealing with a potential overdose victim is to contact 911. The dispatcher will walk you through what you need to do and send help to your location. Now, law enforcement recommends you wait for medical personnel to arrive because when overdose victims are awoken very rapidly, they can be agitated and angry. But if an overdose victim is unresponsive and not breathing, you will need to act fast and administer Narcan. Hold the Narcan with the thumb on the bottom of the plunger and 2 fingers on top of the nozzle, and place and hold the tip of the nozzle in either nostril until your fingers touch the bottom of the subject's nose. Then you press the plunger to release the dose. The victim should respond immediately and wake up, but if the victim still remains unresponsive, you may need to provide assisted breathing and CPR or another dose of Narcan. More than 5 people die every day from overdoses in Arizona, and over the past 3 years, overdose deaths have increased by 66% and have more than doubled since 2015. Narcan nasal spray is expected to be available over the counter in pharmacies by late summer of 2023 and will hopefully help combat the continually increasing overdose rates. In the newsroom, Logan Camden, Cronkite News.
Since the pandemic, there have been a number of shortages impacting Americans, from toilet paper to eggs, and now medication. Cronkite News reporter Shira Tanzer shows us how a lack of ADHD medication is impacting people's health.
ADHD is one of the most common mental disorders in children, and now people are finding it hard to get a hold of the medication that experts say can change the way they live. In October of 2022, the FDA announced a shortage of ADHD medications such as Adderall. Without access to these medicines, patients with ADHD are forced to go about their lives without the help they would usually be getting.
This disorder, it affects all aspects of someone's life. It affects socially, their family relationships, intimate relationships, work, school, and it doesn't take a break.
Geddick, an ADHD specialist, explains ADHD medications send neurotransmitters to the prefrontal cortex of the brain, allowing patients to organize better and control impulsive thoughts. Nurse practitioner Benjamin Sparks says these behaviors come out differently in every patient's life.
It's not just the classroom, it's not just work, it's home, and it's those interpersonal relationships.
According to the CDC, 8.2% of Arizona children are diagnosed with ADHD. Kalmash Gandhi with the Arizona State Board of Pharmacy says one option for those looking for medication is compounding pharmacies, where they produce medicine on the individual level.
According to the FDA, if there's a documented shortage of medications, then compounding pharmacies are able to compound these medications.
Geddick says a lot of pharmacies such as Walgreens and CVS get their prescriptions from the same supplier. So if the suppliers run out, the medication can't get to the patients.
We have a lot of new clients that are coming here who weren't able to get medicine from other practices that they were going to. But with our clients, our staff, we call around when we work with pharmacies, local pharmacies, we call around every day. So our clients aren't going without medicine.
There's no update on when these medications will become available again. If you're unable to get ADHD medication, try calling different pharmacies in the area before turning to compound pharmacies. Reporting in Phoenix, Shira Tanzer, Cronkite News.
Now on Passport.
What are you looking for in your life?
There's an important story that needs to be told.
Is it a sense of your own destiny?
Choose your story.
Try to help create change in some way.
It's a beautiful thing. Not very many people get to see.
Once you come into the neighborhood, you are a part of the family.
You can be a good person or a bad person. It's your choice.
Stop complaining and go actually do something.
Now you can stream even more documentaries with Passport on the PBS Video app.
Hello, I'm Adrienne Farewell, and I'm proud to serve as General Manager of Arizona PBS. From Phoenix to the Grand Canyon, Flagstaff to Prescott, and everywhere in between, this station is the best way to remain connected to all that's going on in our beautiful state. So whether you're interested in arts, culture, and music, to local politics and education, we've got you covered. You're watching Arizona PBS, and your Arizona connection starts right here.
Honeybees are dying at an alarming rate. In fact, their lifespans are actually shortening.
I talked with researchers and a beekeeper to get the buzz on what is happening to bees. The bees have been here for hundreds of years, buzzing around and pollinating our plants around the world. But recently, their numbers have been dropping for many reasons. Loss of habitat, invasive insects, bad beekeeping, pesticides, and other chemicals. These honeybees are essential for plant and human life and have been slowly declining for years. But if they disappear, it could have a drastic impact. A recent study by Scientific Reports found that honeybees are now living around 18 days compared to 34 days, which was the average lifespan 50 years ago.
The bees are sick, that they're being poisoned in some way or getting poor nutrition or have some disease, that's been, becoming more and more prevalent over the last 50 years.
Harrison studies insects, including bees, and while he and other scientists are unsure of what specifically is hurting the bees, they believe it's most likely a combination of factors. But everyone agrees that losing the bees would harm the planet. One immediate loss: important pollinating habits.
In short supply, basically you're going to lose out on that pollination. Our food, really the entire industry, food, stops as we know it.
Honeybees are pollinators critical for our sustainable agriculture, environment, and keeping our planet beautiful and healthy. But the world hasn't been treating them that way. But we can help by keeping and maintaining our own bees or growing pesticide-free, bee-friendly gardens.
If you see a bee out and about, just look at it, enjoy it, but let it do its thing. It's probably not coming for you.
The bees are just trying to live and create a living world.
A handful of California condors have died due to highly contagious avian flu spreading among the bird population.
Cronkite News reporter Autry Moneshny tells us how this endangered population is even more at risk.
Millie and Marble are two healthy California condors living at Liberty Wildlife, but a smaller population of their friends living in northern Arizona are in danger. According to the National Park Service, at least 3 condors have died testing positive for the avian flu, and 5 others have fallen ill. Those 5 are brought here for treatment and testing, with one of the birds dying after arrival.
The reason we're worried about the California condors is because they are an endangered species. There's a very small amount of them that are out there in the wild.
This strand of the virus is known as HPAI and is highly contagious, especially during migration season. It first began spreading in Europe and made its way to the US. It is unlikely for humans to catch this virus, but there have been some rare cases.
HPAI is spread
by bird-to-bird contact. It can be spread through feces. It can be spread to an animal that ingests an infected carcass.
Signs of illness include lethargy, lack of coordination, or holding their head in an unusual position.
That's kind of the biggest thing that most people are going to cue in on is that bird isn't acting right. It's acting really quiet, or even acting nice, approachable, that sort of thing.
As of 2022, there are about 561 California condors in the world, and 347 of them live in the wild. These numbers have increased compared to 2021. But even still, the effects of the avian flu and other stressors like lead poisoning can be detrimental to the condor population.
There's this web of life that we live in, and condors are a part of that, and making sure that they maintain and continue to be a part of that is really important.
In Phoenix, Atria Mineshny, Cronkite News.
Drought has taken its toll on traditional and commercial crops. In fact, one Hopi farmer we spoke with says in the past 15 years, crops like corn and squash were especially hard hit. Reporter Sydney Whitty tells us the farmer's mission is to keep these dying crops alive with native techniques.
I spoke with a farmer who's a member of the Hopi Nation who's trying to bring traditional Hopi corn back to the dining table, and not only for the health benefits, but also to bring his people closer to their culture.
Put the wet stuff on first.
A group of educators turned students for the day hit the fields of Arcosanti in Mare, Arizona, to learn about how to sustain indigenous crops.
I know a little bit of planting corn, but this is a really different technique.
Michael Kututwat Johnson is a farmer and member of the Hopi tribe.
Why it's important for us as Hopis to be farmers and to plant every year.
He partnered with Arcosanti, a projected experimental town, and together they are using this acre of land to help keep his family's seed stock alive.
We use these seeds and we use the products of these seeds, in a lot of our ceremonies, like to make rattles and to use white corn to make a prayer meal and things like that. And so they're just very important for us.
This seed goes deeper than just becoming a plant. Once these seeds are planted and covered with dirt, it becomes Hopi sweet corn, what Michael calls their mother.
Corn represents our mother. And we need to take care of her, and then she'll take care of us. And so that's one of the main reasons why I do what I do, is because I want to give back to the community, more than I want to give back to myself.
He says the corn has 10 to 14 times more mineral content than corn found in grocery stores, and hopes his crop will become more accessible to Native Americans to help battle their unique health issues.
And so I'm trying to find ways also to grow things out on a bigger scale so that I can introduce them back into the Native communities where they came from to help with things like heart disease, diabetes, obesity, things like that have been plaguing us for a number of years.
And teachers helping plant the corn want to spread the knowledge to their students so they can feel connected to their culture and learn where it came from.
And I always tell my kids, there was no Bashas', Walmart, Fry's nearby a long time ago. Everything was, grown, planted, and harvested by the people.
If the corn grows successfully at Arcosanti, Johnson plans to go back home and distribute it to the community, while some of it will be used for another grow out. In the newsroom, Sydney Whitty, Cronkite News.
When you support Arizona PBS, you plant a seed. Seeds that provide educational outreach in our community. Seeds that put our digital resources to work. Seeds that foster the trusted news coverage you expect from PBS. And seeds that continue the amazing PBS programs you love. But our garden can't keep growing without your support. Visit our website to see all the ways you can help our garden grow. Plant a seed with Arizona PBS today.
My heart is racing right now.
Fasten your seatbelt.
You're uncovering the truth.
These are consequential things. Yeah.
Oh, look at everybody.
I feel the presence of all these people.
I've got history.
No. I wish my mom could be here to see this.
Amazing. It's like the most vital stuff, right?
Tuesdays on Arizona PBS.
I come from a manufacturing background. I'm an engineer by degree, and my roommate at the time thought I'd really enjoy home brewing, and so he bought me a home brew kit for my birthday. And it turns out I really did enjoy brewing, and about a month later, I was brewing every week. I had a microbrewery in my garage that I had 8 beers on tap, and I just loved creating a product. And I was finding that when I was going out to these bars and restaurants, I was automatically being stereotyped as a woman beer drinker, and was finding that I would go to a bar and the person would address my colleague, my male colleague, with the latest IPA, but he or she would recommend the blueberry beer to me. So I saw this as a gap in an industry that is not thinking about 50% of their consumer base, which is women. And I saw an opportunity in this industry. So launching Greenwood, one of the first conversations I had was with a bank. I want to start a brewery and I want to self-fund this project, so could I lend $1 million for this brewery? And the woman that I talked to was like, that's really cute. I love that you want to start a brewery, but nobody's going to lend you $1 million on something that you've never worked in professionally. And so I started knocking on doors of breweries all around Phoenix Metro and found a brewery that was half owned by a woman, and she understood and got what I was trying to do. And so I started Greenwood Brewing, renting space from another brewery. So I would say some of the challenges along that were being taken seriously as a woman that was starting a brewery with a lot of the lenders. My recommendation to women is to just start, especially if you're thinking about a specific idea. Find somebody to shadow, go to a meeting in the industry, find a mentor, have a coffee with somebody, just start. You're not going to get anywhere if you don't take that first step, so just start.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.